Hey everyone, buckle up. Tonight we're sneaking into a medieval rumor so wild it got deleted by the Vatican's cosmic eraser. Picture this, a woman secretly running the Catholic Church, rocking the fisherman's ring, and then, plot twist, popping out a baby mid-parade. Yeah, that level of hold my mitre. Honestly, you wouldn't last 60 seconds in 9th century Rome. The Wi-Fi is non-existent, the plumbing is a bucket with commitment issues, and breakfast is a stale rye crust that fights back. Survival rating: 1 lonely star, and that star is mostly pity. So, before you get all cozy under that blanket burrito, smash the like button like it owes you money, and subscribe. But only if you're genuinely into history served with a side of wait. What? Drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to know if you're listening from a Tokyo high-rise at 3 a.m. or a Montana ranch at high noon. Let's make this a global bedtime conspiracy. Now, kill the overheads, crank a fan to gentle hurricane, and maybe cue up some lo-fi Gregorian chants. Snuggle in, exhale the 21st century, and let's tiptoe through the cobblestones together. Because tonight, the Pope is a mom, the cardinals are clueless, and the Tiber is still gossiping. Ready? Lights low, volume softer than a monk's whisper, here we go. You open your eyes to moonlight sliding across the Rhine like spilled cream. The river is right there, just beyond the crooked wooden shutters of your family's timber house in Mainz, year of our Lord 815 or so. Dates are fuzzy when parchment is expensive. The air smells of wet stone, wood smoke, and the faint iron tang of the water itself. You're 9, maybe 10. Nobody has bothered to count your birthdays precisely. Your straw palate scratches your cheek, but you don't mind. You're already listening to the night the way other children listen to lullabies. Downstairs, your father, a scribe for the local bishop, snores in rhythm with the house timbers. Your mother's breathing is softer, almost lost beneath the creak of the roof settling. You slip from the pallet, bare feet cool on the packed earth floor, and pad to the window. Mainz is a huddle of thatched roofs and half-timbered walls leaning together like gossiping ants. Beyond the town gate, the cathedral's skeleton of scaffolding claws at the stars. Charlemagne's architects never sleep, apparently. A night watchman coughs somewhere, his lantern bobs like a lazy firefly. You smile. The world is big, and you intend to fit inside all of it. History knows this town as Mogontiacum once, a Roman fortress turned Carolingian boomtown. Scholars agree the Rhine was the empire's liquid highway, ferrying wine, ideas, and the occasional invading army. What fewer people mention is the smell, fish scales drying on docks, horse dung steaming in morning frost, and the perpetual yeasty breath of the brewers along the riverbank. You catalogue these details the way other girls collect pretty stones. Your mother says you ask too many questions. Your father says questions are how parchment earns its keep. You decide both are right. Tonight the question is simple. Why does the moon look like a clipped silver coin, and who decides what it's worth? You press your forehead to the shutter. Cold wood, warm curiosity. Somewhere across the water an owl calls. 3 hoots, pause, 2 more. A code, maybe. You answer with a silent blink. The owl doesn't reply, but you feel the conversation has begun. Grounding fact: Mainz in the 9th century is a real bishopric under Archbishop Haistulf, busy minting coins and copying manuscripts. Touch of the unusual: town law requires every pig to wear a bell after dusk, supposedly to prevent witches from riding them. Yes, really. Hint of mystery: no one agrees how many girls were secretly taught to read by indulgent fathers. The records, like laundry on a windy day, simply vanish. You tiptoe downstairs. The hearth glows ember red, enough to see the stack of vellum scraps your father brings home from the scriptorium. You've watched him rule lines with a lead point, mix ink from oak galls and soot, turn blank skin into words that outlive kings. Last week he let you hold the quill. The feather was goose, the nib sharp enough to prick if you pressed too hard. You didn't press. You drew a single letter, your initial, though you don't yet have a name the world will remember. The ink dried black and shining, a beetle trapped in time. Your mother stirs. Child, the night is for sleeping. You whisper back, the night is for thinking. She sighs the way mothers have sighed since Eve, but there's a smile in it. She knows you'll outgrow the palette long before you outgrow the questions. Back under the blanket, you rehearse the alphabet in your head, are like the river's bend, be like the bishop's belly, see like the curve of the moon. Sleep tugs, but you resist. You're mapping tomorrow already, sneak into the cathedral yard, watch the monks file in for matins, memorize the Latin responses. Boys your age train falcons or swing wooden swords. You train your memory the way knights train arms. One day the words will carry you farther than any horse. Outside, the Rhine keeps its ancient mutter. You match your breathing to its rhythm. Inhale on the hush, exhale on the lap of water against stone. The sound is older than the empire, older than the church bells that will clang in a few hours. You imagine the river carrying your name downstream, past vineyards and monasteries, past the emperor's palace at Ingelheim, all the way to the sea. Names travel when bodies cannot. You tuck that thought like a smooth pebble into your pocket. A joke for the dark. If the river is a highway, you're the stowaway with no fare and a head full of contraband ideas. Another, the bishop's pig bell rings prettier than the cathedral chimes. Someone should tell the bell ringer. You grin into the straw. The night doesn't mind your humor. Your eyelids sag. The moon has climbed higher, shrinking to a clipped coin indeed. You picture it spent in some heavenly tavern on a round of angel ale. The image blurs. The Rhine's lullaby deepens. You slip under, dreaming of ink that writes itself across the sky. But dreams are only the rehearsal. Tomorrow the real journey begins. The bells of Mainz Cathedral clang you awake before the roosters dare. You're already dressed. Simple wool tunic, leather belt twice wrapped because you're narrow as a raid, and your bare feet slap cold stone as you dart downstairs. Your father left at dawn for the scriptorium. The hearth is banked, but a clay bowl of barley porridge waits, skin forming on top like a tiny frozen lake. You poke it with a wooden spoon. Survival tip, never trust porridge that looks back at you. Your mother is at the loom, shuttle clicking like an impatient tongue. Eat, child. The monks don't wait. She doesn't look up, but you catch the corner of her smile. She knows where you're headed. Mothers always do. Outside, frost glitters on the cobbles. Your breath puffs little ghosts that vanish before they can gossip. The town stirs. A baker slides trays of rye loaves into a beehive oven, steam curling like incense. A cooper hammers iron hoops around a barrel, each blow a heartbeat. You weave through it all, hood up, invisible the way only children can be. The scriptorium squats beside the cathedral cloister, low stone building with a turf roof where grass grows in patchy tufts. You've memorized the side door the novices use, left ajar for the cat that keeps mice from the vellum. You slip inside. Heaven smells like oak galls, vinegar, and the faint sweetness of drying parchment. Rows of desks slant toward narrow windows. Goose quill pens stand in clay pots like skinny soldiers. 3 monks bend over their work, tangers gleaming. One hums a Gregorian chant off-key, Brother Anselm, who snores louder than he sings. You crouch behind a stack of unbound quires and wait. Patience is a skill. You practice it the way knights practice sword forms. Grounding fact, Carolingian Scriptoria really were the Google servers of the 9th century, copying everything from Virgil to tax rolls. Touch of the unusual, monks sometimes wrote complaints in the margins. This parchment is hairy, or cold today, hand stiff. Tiny postcards from 1,000 years ago. Hint of mystery, who taught the daughters of scribes to read when the church officially frowned on it. The records are as silent as a cat on carpet. Brother Anselm stretches, joints popping like kindling. He shuffles out for bread. Perfect. You glide to his desk. An open psalter glows under a slant of light. Psalm 23, Latin letters round and confident. You mouth the words, Dominus regit me, the Lord is my shepherd. You've heard your father read it, but seeing the shapes yourself is different, like tasting fruit instead of hearing about it. Your finger hovers, not quite touching the ink. Touching is forbidden, looking is merely dangerous. Footsteps. You duck beneath the desk. 2 novices enter, voices low. The bishop wants 20 more missals by Easter, one grumbles. Tell the sheep to stop dying, the other laughs. They settle at adjacent desks. You're trapped, but the view is excellent up close. The vellum is translucent, veins faint as spider silk. You watch the novice dip his quill, blot, scrape an error with a knife. The knife fascinates you, small, curved, deadly to mistakes. You want one. Time stretches. Your knees ache. Finally, the novices leave for terse. You exhale, crawl out, and jackpot, spot a scrap of spoiled sheet, ink blurred into a Rorschach blob. You pocket it like contraband candy. On your way out you pass the cat, a black and white tom with one torn ear. You offer a silent alliance, I won't tell if you won't. He blinks slow agreement. Back home, you hide under the stairs with your treasure, by the light of a fish oil lamp, smoky, but your mother allows it for mending, you practice. The quill your father discarded last week is too big. You whittle the shaft with a kitchen knife until it fits your hand. Ink is the problem. You try charcoal crushed in water, grey slush. Beet juice, pink and sticky. Finally, you steal a drop of your father's gall ink when he naps. It's thick, black, smells like autumn woods. You draw a wobbly on the scrap. Then B. The letters lean like drunk monks, but they're yours. Weeks slide by in this rhythm. Dawn chores, scriptorium espionage, midnight practice. Your mother finds ink on your sleeve and sighs the sigh of the resigned. Your father finds your practice sheets and says nothing, but next day leaves a fresh quill on your palate. Approval tastes better than honey. One evening you're copying a line from the Rule of St. Benedict, ut in omnibus glorifister Deus, when the candle gutters. Shadows leap. For a heartbeat, the letters seem to wriggle, alive. You laugh at yourself. Ink doesn't dance. But the idea sticks. What if words could walk off the page and into the world? You fall asleep dreaming of letters marching down the Rhine, banners high. Joke 1. The cat's official title is Musipulator Mouse Catcher, but his real job is quality control. Any page he sits on is declared perfect. Joke 2. Brother Anselm's handwriting slopes so badly it's practically italic, centuries early. Give the man a printing press. Joke 3. You've started signing your secret pages, J, for no reason except it looks mysterious, like a secret society of one. Spring thaws the river. Ice cracks with gunshot pops. You're 12 now, taller, still invisible when you want to be. One afternoon, you overhear the bishop himself in the cloister, voice booming, "We need clerks who can read Greek as easily as Latin." Your ears prick. Greek, those squiggly letters you've glimpsed in margins. You resolve to learn it the way you learn to swim, jump in, flail, survive. That night you steal a Greek psalter from the locked chest. Yes, steal is a strong word. Consider it an extended loan. The script looks like spilled peppercorns. You copy the first line onto your growing stack of scraps. The letters mark you, but you're stubborn. Stubborn is a family trait right after curiosity. Your mother catches you at it. Moonlight stripes the floor. She stands in the doorway, hands on hips. "Girl," she says, soft, "the world is not kind to women who know too much." You meet her eyes. "Then I'll be kinder than the world." She studies you a long moment, then kisses your forehead. "Stubborn as your father. God help us both." You return the Psalter before dawn, heart hammering like the cooper's mallet. But the Greek letters stay behind your eyes, glowing. You're building a map no one else can see, and every stolen page is another mile. Outside, the Rhine keeps its counsel, broad and brown with spring silt. You whisper your new secret to the current. One day these words will carry you farther than any boat. The river doesn't answer, but it doesn't laugh either. That's encouragement enough. The night you decide to leave Mainz, the sky is the color of a fresh bruise. You stand on the riverbank, a bundle of bread and cheese tied in a scrap of linen, your father's second-best cloak swallowing your narrow shoulders. The Rhine smells of thaw and fish and something metallic, like a blade left out in the rain. You're 14, all elbows and secrets, and the plan is simple. Become Brother John before anyone notices the girl is gone. Your mother pressed the bundle into your hands at dusk. No tears, just a fierce hug that smelled of wool and wood smoke. "Write when you can," she whispered. "Lie well." Your father gave you a small leather pouch, 3 silver pennies, a stub of sealing wax, and the quill you whittled down to size. "Ink is heavier than gold," he said. "Don't lose it." Then they turned away so you wouldn't see their eyes. You've practiced the walk, shoulders squared, chin tucked, stride half a heartbeat slower than a girl's. You've practiced the voice, lower, clipped, a little hoarse from pretended coughs. You've practiced the name until it feels like a second skin. Johannes Anglicus, because English sounds foreign enough to explain any oddity, and nobody checks the provenance of a monk with good Latin. You shear your hair with kitchen shears behind the henhouse, strands drifting like black snow. The cold bites your scalp, but the weight is gone. You feel lighter, dangerous, possible. Grounding fact, the 9th century church ran on itinerant scholars. Monks moved between monasteries like bees between hives, carrying texts and gossip. Touch of the unusual. Some monasteries required newcomers to bathe in front of the community to prove they weren't hiding leprosy, or, awkwardly, breasts. Hint of mystery. How many beardless youths in the records were actually girls is a question that keeps medievalists up at night, though not as late as the monks themselves. Dawn finds you at the Abbey Gate of Fulda, 30 miles south, boots caked with mud you rubbed on deliberately. The porter, a squat man with eyebrows like hedgerows, squints. "Name?" "Brother John from Mainz, sent by Bishop Haystolf with letters." You produce a forgery, your father's seal, your own looping script. The wax is still warm from the candle you held under your cloak. The porter grunts, waves you through. First test passed. You resist the urge to skip. Inside, Fulda is a city of stone and routine. Bells dictate everything, prime, terce, none, vespers, like a heartbeat you learn to live inside. You're assigned to the scriptorium. Your forged letter claimed paleography skills, and the abbot himself tests you. He slides a leaf of Gregory the Great across the desk. You read aloud, fluent, then translate into Greek on request. His eyebrows climb. "Remarkable for one so young." You cough modestly. "God's grace, Reverend Father." Inside, you're cataloging. The abbot's left hand trembles slightly. He favors his right knee. He smells of cloves. Details are currency. Your cell is a coffin of a room, straw mattress, crucifix, chamber pot. Luxury is the sliver of window showing the sky. You share the dormitory with 20 other monks, snoring and farting in a symphony of humanity. You learn to change bandages under your tunic in the dark, to pee sitting only when the latrine is empty, to pray with your eyes open so you can watch the door. The first month you barely sleep, waiting for discovery. It never comes. You start to breathe. You copy, you illuminate, you debate. The rule forbids idle talk, but scriptorium chatter is its own dialect. Brother Siegfried, who illustrates capitals with dragons that look suspiciously like the abbot, teaches you to mix vermilion from cinnabar and egg white. Too much white and it cracks, he mutters, like promises. You laugh, then remember to deepen it. He doesn't notice. Joke 1, the chamber pot has a crack. You name it Little Heretic because it leaks doctrine. Joke 2, Brother Siegfried's dragons all of the abbot's knows, subtle rebellion or bad portraiture. Joke 3, you've started sleeping with your quill under the pillow. If anyone asks, it's for midnight inspiration, not self-defense. Winter bites hard. Ink freezes in the pots. You warm it between your palms. You write a commentary on Boethius that circulates anonymously. Too clever for a novice, the abbot frowns, but he keeps it. Your reputation grows like frost on a window pane. The quiet monk who never tires, whose Latin sings, who can quote Aristotle in Greek. Invitations come, lecture at Corvée, consult at St. Gall. You travel in a mule cart with 3 real monks who argue about predestination and never suspect the 4th is inventing a bladder complaint to avoid communal bathing. At night, you lie rigid, listening to the others breathe. You practice binding your chest tighter, linen strips wound so snug your ribs protest. You dream of your mother's loom, the shuttle's steady thump-thump. You dream of the Rhine carrying your name to places you haven't earned yet. You wake before the bell, always. One spring evening, a letter arrives sealed with the papal chancery's bull. The abbot reads it aloud at chapter. Rome seeks scholars for the Schola Cantorum. Names are requested. Yours is 3rd on the list. The abbot looks at you, really looks, and you feel the weight of every lie you've told with your body. Brother John, he says, would you serve the Holy See? You bow, tanja gleaming. If God wills. Inside, the girl who was once you dances on the ceiling. You pack light, the quill, the 3 pennies now down to 1, a psalter you illuminated yourself, tiny marginal drawings of cats wearing mitres. You leave a note under Siegfried's pillow, the dragons fly south. Guard the vermilion. No signature, he'll understand. The morning you depart, Fulda's bells ring you out like a funeral for the girl you buried. You don't look back. The road south is muddy, endless, alive with pilgrims and cutpurses and the smell of ox dung. You walk in the middle of the column, hood up, hands tucked into sleeves. Somewhere behind you, Mainz fades into rumour. Ahead, the Alps wait like a promise and a threat. You touch the quill through the fabric of your sleeve. Ink is heavier than gold, your father said. You believe him now. Every step south is a letter you're writing with your feet, a sentence the world isn't ready to read. The mule cart creaks. You match its rhythm, heartbeat steady. Brother John, scholar monk, is only the first draft. The mule cart finally wheezes to a stop outside the crumbling walls of what the locals still call the School of the Athenians, though Athens herself is 1,000 miles east, and the Parthenon has been a church for centuries. You're in Rome's orbit now, but this isn't Rome yet. It's a way station in the Byzantine quarter of southern Italy, a half-forgotten lecture hall wedged between a monastery and a vineyard that smells of fermenting grapes and wet dog. The year is sliding toward 840, and you, Brother John, are 20-something, all cheekbones and borrowed authority. The hall is older than Charlemagne, older than the split between East and West. Its roof leaks in strategic places. Buckets catch the drips like patient monks catching grace. You step inside and the air hits you, olive oil smoke, dusty parchment, and the sharp tang of unwashed scholars who believe soap is a Frankish affectation. A dozen men, Greeks mostly, a few Lombards, one Irishman with a laugh like a cracked bell, turn to stare. You bow, Latin crisp, Greek ready on the tongue. The silence stretches, then the magister, a thin man named Leo whose beard reaches his belt, claps once. "Brother John of Mainz," he announces, as if tasting the words. "Prove your worth, the wine will waste on you." Grounding fact, 9th century southern Italy really was a cultural blender. Greek-speaking monks preserved Plato while Latin monks argued over predestination. Touch of the unusual. Lecturers were paid in kind, olive oil, candles, the occasional goat, so attendance was literally a matter of survival. Hint of mystery. No one knows exactly how many Western scholars slipped east to drink from the Greek fountain before trickling back west. The travel logs are as holy as the roof. You unroll your psalter, flip to a page you illuminated with a marginal doodle of Aristotle riding a mule. Laughter ripples. Leo's eyes narrow, approval or suspicion, hard to tell. You launch into a lecture on the categories, Latin first, then switching to Greek, so fluid the Irishman spills his wine. You diagram on a wax tablet, stylus scratching like a mouse with opinions. Someone asks about the Trinity in Aristotelian terms. You answer without blinking, threading theology through philosophy the way your mother threaded warp through weft. By the time the oil lamps gutter low, even Leo is nodding. They keep you. Of course they do. You're assigned a corner cell with a view of the vineyard and a desk that wobbles like a drunk. Your duties: teach logic to novices, copy a crumbling organon, debate anyone who wanders in with a question and a skin of wine. You fall into the rhythm. Mornings, lecture. Afternoons, vineyard patrol. Picking grapes is penance for the soul and exercise for the back. Evenings, candlelight arguments that end only when the wine does. Joke 1. The Irishman claims his people invented confession because they needed practice apologizing for their handwriting. Joke 2. The roof buckets have names. Yours is St. Augustine because it leaks in profound ways. Joke 3. You've started grading Leo's beard. Today it's a solid B+ for volume, C for hygiene. You bind your chest tighter now. Southern heat makes everything swell. You invent a persistent cough to explain why you avoid the communal bathhouse. The Greeks are too busy arguing about auger to notice. You learn their curses, their recipes, fish sauce in everything, even porridge. Their habit of kissing cheeks 3 times instead of the Western 2. You learn to sleep through earthquakes, small ones anyway. The building sways like a ship, and you dream of the Rhine. One dusk a letter arrives, carried by a dusty pilgrim who smells of horse and garlic. It's from Fulda, forwarded through 3 monasteries. Siegfried's handwriting, cramped and dragon-free, the abbot asks after you. I told him you were eaten by philosophers. He believed it. You laugh so hard the Irishman thumps your back, thinking you're choking. You tuck the letter into your psalter beside the Aristotle mule. Homesickness is a bruise you press when no one's looking. Winter brings rain that turns the vineyard to mud. You lecture by a brazier, toes numb, voice steady. A new student arrives. Anastasius, barely 16, eyes like a startled fawn. He quotes you back to yourself within a week. You recognize the hunger, it's the same one that drove you from Mainz. You lend him your spare quill. He returns it sharpened to a needle, alliance formed, spring again. The vines bud, Leo summons you to the leaky hall. Rome calls, he says, handing you a parchment sealed with the papal keys. The Schola Cantorum needs a Greek voice. You'll do. His beard twitches, almost a smile. You bow, heart hammering like the vineyard gate in wind. You pack the same light bundle, plus a jar of southern olives and a headache of memories. The night before departure, the scholars throw a symposium. Wine, bread, endless toasts. Someone recites Homer. Someone else argues that the soul is a harmonic mean. You drink watered wine, laugh in the right places, and when the lamps dim, you slip outside. The vineyard smells of turned earth and promise. You touch a vine leaf, soft as a baby's ear. Somewhere inside, Anastasius is copying your notes by stolen candlelight. The tradition continues. Dawn is rose and gold. The mule cart waits, this time pointed north and west. You climb aboard, hood up, quill tucked safely in your sleeve. Leo waves once, beard magnificent in the light. The cart lurches. You look back until the hall is a smudge, then face forward. Rome is next, vast and hungry and waiting to swallow a monk who quotes Plato in the bath. You whisper to the road dust, Brother John, scholar of Athens by proxy, still undiscovered. The dust doesn't answer, but it rises like incense. Good enough. The Via Francigena is less a road than a suggestion carved by a million boots, hooves, and cartwheels. You're on it now, Brother John, wedged between a wine merchant's barrels and a pilgrim family whose children stare at your tanja like it's a party trick. The year is 842, give or take. The Alps have just tried to kill you with snow and altitude, and you're still coughing up memories of thin air. The mule snorts, offended by the smell of its own sweat. You pat its neck, solidarity in suffering. The road south from the Great St. Bernard Pass is a ribbon of mud and miracles. Every mile someone's built a shrine, a wooden cross, a heap of stones, a faded ribbon tied to a hazel bush. You add nothing. Your offering is the Latin psalm you murmur when the going gets steep. The pilgrim mother, Matilda, 3 kids, 1 tooth, asks if you're a saint yet. You tell her saints don't get blisters. She laughs, offers you a strip of dried apple. You trade her a Greek proverb about patience. The kids chant it wrong and giggle. The road feels almost friendly. Grounding fact, the Via Francigena was the medieval equivalent of the interstate, linking Canterbury to Rome with hostels, tolls, and the occasional bandit. Touch of the unusual, pilgrims carried lead badges from shrines, budget souvenirs that doubled as proof you weren't just wandering. Hint of mystery, how many women walked the whole route disguised as men. The badges don't say, and the bones are quiet. You walk when the cart rests the mule. Your boots, second-hand, resoled with pilgrim grit, are more whole than leather. Each step raises a puff of dust that coats your tongue like chalk. You catalogue the tastes. Central Italian dust is peppery, Tuscan dust is rosemary, this stretch near Siena is pure garlic from the fields. Your chest binding itches in the heat, but you've perfected the art of scratching discreetly while pretending to adjust your script. At dusk, you reach a hospice run by Cluniac monks. Stone walls, straw pallets, bean soup thick enough to stand a spoon in. You're assigned the scriptorium corner. Someone heard you're the Greek fellow. You copy a pilgrim's safe conduct by rushlight, letters neat despite the day's ache. The monk beside you, Brother Guido, hums a bawdy song about a bishop and a goat. You add harmony in Greek. He doesn't notice the language switch, just grins. Friendship tastes like bean soup and shared mischief. Joke 1. The mule's name is officially Sanctus, but answers to you bastard in 3 languages. Joke 2. Matilda's youngest has renamed his blisters Little Popes because they're round, red, and boss everyone around. Joke 3, you've started rating roadside shrines by how much they lean. 5 degrees is tipsy saint, 10 is drunk on grace. Night in the dormitory, 30 bodies, 1 snore that could wake the dead. You lie awake counting heartbeats until yours slows to match the rhythm of the road. You dream of mates, of your mother's loom, your father's ink-stained fingers. But the dream shifts, the loom weaves words, the ink becomes wine, the Rhine flows uphill. You wake gasping, moonlight striping the floor like prison bars. You touch your quill, still there. Anchor. Morning brings fog and a merchant with news. Emperor Lothar is quarreling with his brothers again. Rome is restless. The Pope needs clever clerks. Your ears prick. You trade your last silver penny for a place on a faster cart headed to the Eternal City. Matilda hugs you goodbye, presses a lead badge into your palm. St. James, scallop shell, worn smooth. For the girl you'll marry someday, she winks. You cough to hide the laugh, tuck the badge into your psalter beside Siegfried's letter and the olive jar. The new cart is driven by a Lombard named Bernardo who swears in 4 dialects and sings in none. His cargo, silk, pepper, and a cage of doves destined for some cardinal's table. You ride atop the silk bales, wind whipping your hood. The road narrows, flanked by cypress trees like dark exclamation points. You pass a leper hospital where bells tinkle to warn of approach. You toss a crust of bread and a quick prayer. The doves coo, unimpressed. Afternoon thunderstorm. Rain turns the dust to soup. Bernardo curses, you bail water with your bowl. Lightning forks, the doves panic. One escapes, white against black sky. You watch it vanish south. Freedom looks exhausting. The cart shelters under an oak. You share cheese with Bernardo, who tells you Rome eats scholars and spits out bones. You ask if the bones are at least well read. He laughs so hard he chokes on the cheese. Night falls violet. You camp beside the road, fire small to avoid bandits. Bernardo produces a flask of something that smells like fermented regret. You sip, eyes watering. To popes and pepper, he toasts. You drink to mothers and mules. The fire crackles stories neither of you believe. You sleep wrapped in your cloak, quill under your head like a misplaced halo. Dawn is rose again, always rose on this road. Rome is 3 days, maybe 2 if the axle holds. You walk now, cart too crowded with Bernardo's sudden passengers. A pair of Flemish nuns who smell of wimples and disapproval. You match pace with a limping pilgrim who claims to have seen Charlemagne's ghost at Aachen. You trade him a Latin pun for a sip of his water skin. He laughs, calls you Frater Doctissimus. The title settles on your shoulders like a borrowed mantle. The road curves. Olive groves silver in the sun. You smell the sea long before you see it. Salt and pine and something vast. Your heart lifts the way the doves did. Rome is close enough to taste, metallic on the wind. You touch the badge, the quill, the binding beneath your tunic, all still there, all still yours. You whisper to the dust, Brother John, pilgrim of dust and detours, almost home. The road doesn't answer, but the doves, those still caged, coo once, as if in agreement. The gates of Rome open like a mouth that has forgotten how to close. You stand on the crest of the last hill, Brother John, hood pushed back for the first time in weeks, and the city spills below you in a jumble of red roofs, golden stone, and the green glint of the Tiber threading through it all. The year is 844. The air smells of baking bread, horse sweat, and the faint rot of a river that has carried too many secrets. Somewhere inside those walls, Pope Sergius Roman II coughs his last. and the papal throne sits empty like a chair at a banquet no one wants to claim. You feel the vacancy tug at you the way the moon tugs the tide. Bernardo's cart rattles to a stop at the Porta Portunsis. Guards in patched mail wave you through after a cursory glance at your forged letter. Papal seal, perfect Latin, the ink still crisp from the last hospice. The doves coo farewell. Bernardo slaps your shoulder hard enough to rattle your teeth. Don't let the cardinals eat you, little monk. You grin, step into the chaos, and the city swallows you whole. Grounding fact, 9th century Rome was a shrunken giant. Population maybe 30,000, cows grazing in the Forum, the Colosseum a quarry with squatters. Touch of the unusual, the city measured time by water clocks in the public baths. When they froze in winter, so did justice. Hint of mystery, papal elections were often decided in the dead of night by whoever controlled the city militia. Records disagree on who bribed whom. Inside the walls, the streets are narrow arteries clogged with humanity. You dodge a priest on a donkey, a fishmonger balancing baskets that drip silver scales, a gaggle of pilgrims singing off-key in Frankish. The stones underfoot are uneven, worn smooth by centuries of sandals and sin. You smell incense from a dozen side chapel doors, garlic from cook shops, the sharp bite of urine in alleys where modesty lost the battle. Your boots, now more patch than leather, slap a rhythm that matches your pulse. You head for the Leonine city, the fortified knot around St. Peter's. The Schola Cantorum has rooms there, and your letter names you adiutor in grammaticis, assistant in grammar, which is Latin for odd jobs with a quill. The porter at the gate is a grizzled ex-soldier named Marcus who lost 2 fingers to a Saracen blade. He squints at your tanja, grunts approval, and waves you through. First test passed. You resist the urge to exhale too loudly. Your cell is a cupboard with a slit window overlooking the Tiber. Luxury is the hook for your cloak and the fact that the straw is fresh. You unpack, psalter, quill, 1 olive left from the south, the lead pilgrim badge. You pin the badge to the wall like a dare. The river mutters below, brown and busy. You lean out. Across the water, the old city glitters in late sun. Broken aqueducts like giant skeletons, the Pantheon's perfect eye staring at heaven. You whisper a Greek line from Homer. The gods have not granted all men the gift of beauty. Rome snorts in agreement. Evening brings you to the scriptorium, a long hall lit by hanging oil lamps that sway like drunk priests. Desks are scarred, ink pots chained to them, someone learned the hard way. You're introduced to the primicerius, a thin man named Arsenius, whose eyebrows meet in the middle like suspicious caterpillars. He hands you a stack of papal bulls to copy. No flourishes, he snaps. Sergius dies slowly, we need clarity. You nod, settle in. The quill feels like an old friend. You write until the lamps dim and your hand cramps into a claw. Joke 1. The chained ink pots are the original subscription service. Cancel anytime by stealing the chain. Joke 2. Arsenius's eyebrows are plotting a coup. You've seen less hair on a badger. Joke 3. The Tiber at night sounds like it's gargling confessions. Probably is. Night in the dormitory. 20 clerks, 1 snorer who could register as a weapon. You lie awake, cataloguing sounds. River lap, distant dog, the soft scratch of mice in the walls. You practice breathing shallow so your binding doesn't shift. You dream of mates again, but the dream is different. Your mother's loom is now the city itself, weaving streets from thread, and you are the shuttle. Dawn Mass in St. Peter's. The basilica is a cavern of echoes, columns thick as redwoods, mosaic saints staring down with gold eyes. You sing the Kyrie in Greek harmony, heads turn. After a cardinal, Giovanni, young for his rank, face like a bored cat, corners you. "You're the Greek from the north. Write me a letter to the emperor. Make it sound holy but firm." You bow, already composing in your head. Opportunity smells like wax and ambition. Days blur. You draft, you teach, you dodge invitations to dinner that might require removing your tunic. You befriend a lay scribe named Lucia who smuggles you bread and gossip. Her brother is a palace guard, her tongue sharper than your quill. She never asks why you avoid the baths. You trade her a Latin pun for a jar of fig jam. Alliance. One evening, Arsenius summons you to the Lateran palace. The Pope is dead, the city holds its breath. You walk through torchlit corridors where frescoes peel like old skin. Cardinals argue in knots, voices hissing like geese. Arsenius thrusts a wax tablet at you. "Record the votes. Miss nothing." You nod, heart hammering. The conclave is chaos wrapped in ritual, factions for Lothar, for Louis, for no emperor at all. You write until your wrist screams, letters tiny and perfect. Midnight. Smoke rises black from the chapel chimney, non habemus papam. The city groans. You slip outside for air. The Tiber reflects torches like scattered coins. Lucia finds you. "They'll choose soon," she whispers, "or kill each other first." You laugh soft. Rome is a pressure cooker. You're the steam looking for a vent. You lean on the parapet. The badge in your pocket is warm from your hand. You whisper to the river, Brother John, clerk of chaos, still breathing. The water carries the words downstream, past the bridges, past the city walls into the dark. Somewhere a fish swallows them. Good enough. The Lateran palace hums like a hive that has forgotten where the honey is. You move through its corridors as Brother John, quill ever ready, eyes lowered in practiced humility. The year is 845. The papal throne is still warm from the last occupant, and the air tastes of wax, intrigue, and the faint iron of blood someone tried to scrub from the marble. You are now notarius secundus, second notary, because your Greek is flawless, your Latin sings, and your silence is absolute. Cardinals notice silence the way cats notice an open door. Your desk is a scarred oak slab in the Scriptorium Curiae, a vaulted room where the ceiling drips in winter, and the lamps never quite banish the shadows. You draft bulls, letters, excommunications, and the occasional love note disguised as diplomacy. Ink is your armor, the quill your sword. You keep 3 parts, black for official, red for urgent, green for the Archbishop of Ravenna who insists it flatters his eyes. You have learned to smile without showing teeth. Grounding fact, the 9th century papal curia was a bureaucracy on steroids. Hundreds of clerks copying, sealing, and arguing over precedents while the city outside starved. Touch of the unusual, papal bulls were sometimes sealed with lead bulla the size of a baby's fist. Losing one meant excommunication and a very bad day. Hint of mystery. Who forged the donation of Constantine is still debated, but everyone agrees someone in this room had the motive and the wax. Morning begins with the capitulum, chapter meeting, where the archdeacon reads the day's sins and schedules. You sit in the back, tablet balanced on your knee, recording who flinches when whose name is mentioned. Cardinal Giovanni, still bored, still feline, catches your eye and winks. You nod once, neutral. He wants a letter to the Byzantine Empress. You want his vote when the next conclave convenes. Currency. Afternoon, the Pope, newly elected Leo Roman IV, voice like gravel, dictates a bull fortifying the Leonine walls against Saracen raids. You write, he paces, his shadow lunging across the frescoes like a chained dog. "Make it thunder," he growls. You oblige, si quis contra hanc miram, If anyone against this wall, the Latin rolls out like artillery. He grunts approval, signs with a flourish that splatters wax on your sleeve. You bow, hide the stain under your scapula. Stains are evidence. Joke 1. The green ink for Ravener is officially verdigris of hope. Unofficially, it's Bishop's ego in liquid form. Joke 2. Giovanni's wink is so practiced it has its own salary. Joke 3. The dripping ceiling has baptized 3 notaries this winter. You're starting a betting pool on who's next. Evening brings the consistorium, private audience. You stand behind the throne, quill poised as nobles kneel and lie. A duke swears his taxes are lost at sea. You note the tremor in his left hand. A widow begs alms. Her tears are real, but her rings are new. You write it all word for word, then file the tablet in the iron chest that only 3 keys open. 1 key is the Pope's, 1 the Chamberlain's, 1 buried in a monastery garden you will never visit. Trust is a luxury, parchment is forever. Lucia finds you in the cloister at dusk. She's traded her lay scribe's apron for a palace page's livery, shorter hair, sharper eyes. Giovanni's faction meets tonight, she murmurs, passing you a fig. Cellar under the old baths. Bring wine, not questions. You nod, pocket the fig. The fruit is warm from her hand. You wonder if she suspects. You hope not. Night in your cell, the Tiber mutters, the city coughs. You unbind your chest in the dark, ribs singing relief. You massage the grooves the linen left, then rebind tighter. Tomorrow is a feast day, more eyes. You practice your cough, your slouch, your monk voice. You are a palimpsest, girl scraped away, monk written over, but the undertext still bleeds through when the light is right. Midnight. You slip out with a clay flask of watered wine and a loaf gone slightly hard. The cellar is reached through a trapdoor behind the laundry, stench of lye and wet wool. Inside, candles gutter in niches, Giovanni lounges on a broken column, 3 other cardinals arguing in whispers. You pour, silent. They debate, walls or war, gold or grace. Your quill scratches on a scrap of reused parchment. Giovanni catches your eye again. Brother John has a thought. You pause, then quote Gregory the Great on prudence. They nod, impressed. You exhale through your nose, point scored. Back in your cell, you copy the night's notes into a tiny codex hidden in your mattress. Insurance, leverage, bedtime story. The candle sputters. You whisper to the dark, Brother John, whisperer of secrets, still breathing. The Tiber carries the words away, past the bridges, past the walls, into the sea. Somewhere a fish swallows them again. You sleep. Dawn Mass. You sing the Agnus Dei in Greek harmony. The Pope's gravel voice joins on the Latin. For a moment, the basilica is one throat, one breath. You feel the girl inside you stir, then settle. Not yet. The day repeats, draft, record, smile, survive. But the curia is a ladder, and you are climbing rung by oily rung. Giovanni promotes you to notarius primus. Your new desk has a lock. You celebrate with Lucia over stolen honey cakes. She licks sugar from her thumb. Careful, little monk. The higher you climb, the louder the fall. You laugh soft. Falls are for those who forget to bind tight. Outside, Rome builds walls against the Saracens. Inside, you build walls of words. The quill never trembles. The Lateran chapel is locked, barred, and sweating. 43 cardinals, 3 bishops, and 1 deacon who lost a bet are sealed inside with enough bread, wine, and suspicion to last a siege. It is August 847, and Pope Leo Roman IV has been dead 6 days. His body still lies in state across the piazza, while the city outside riots over grain prices. You, Brother John, notarius primus, stand just inside the door with a wax tablet the size of a shield and a quill that feels heavier than the fisherman's ring you once watched slide onto a dying man's finger. Your job: record every vote, every curse, every bribe whispered in Latin, Greek, or the guttural Frankish that makes the Romans wince. The air is thick with incense, sweat, and the sour breath of men who haven't seen sunlight since the funeral. Candles gutter in iron sconces, shadows leap like assassins. Cardinal Giovanni paces the center aisle, scarlet robe swirling, voice smooth as oil. "We need a pope who can finish the walls," he declares, "and pay for them." Across from him, Cardinal Anastasius. "Yes, your old pupil from the south, now grown tall and ambitious, counters. We need a pope who can talk to the Saracens, not just stone them." The room erupts. You write so fast the stylus squeals. Grounding fact: 9th century conclaves were literally "come clave," with a key, because the doors were locked until white smoke rose or everyone died of dysentery. Touch of the unusual: the cardinals were allowed one servant each. Most brought cooks, one brought a parrot that swore in Arabic. Hint of mystery: the 847 election is a blank spot in the Liber Pontificalis. The page was either lost or deliberately razored out. You stand against the wall, hood low, binding tight enough to make breathing an art form. Your tablet fills, Giovanni, 12 votes. Anastasius, 9. A dark horse deacon named Sergius, 2, probably his mother and his cat. The rest scatter like spilled peppercorns. Outside, the mob chants for bread. Inside, the cardinals chant for power. You note who sweats, who prays, who slips a gold solidus into a neighbor's sleeve when he thinks no one sees. You see everything. Joke 1: the parchment supplied for the ballots is so cheap it's translucent. Half the cardinals write on both sides and still misspell Papa. Joke 2: the parrot has learned to mimic Giovanni's cough. Every time it hacks, 3 votes shift. Joke 3: you've started a side tally of how many times Anastasius says walls versus peace. Walls is winning 3-1, but peace is gaining. Night falls. The chapel becomes a cave. Servants bring in straw pallets. The cardinals recline like Romans at a very tense banquet. You are offered a corner near the door, privilege of the notary. You curl on the stone, tablet under your head, and pretend to sleep. In truth you listen: footsteps, whispers, the soft clink of coins changing hands. Giovanni kneels beside Anastasius. Their silhouettes merge like ink in water. You catch fragments. The Greek monk, trustworthy, your heart stutters. You force your breathing steady. Dawn leaks through the high windows, grey and grudging. Another vote. Giovanni, 18. Anastasius, 16. Stalemate. The archdeacon tears his hair. Literally, a tuft comes away in his fist. Someone suggests drawing lots. Someone else suggests drawing swords. You write it all, wrist cramping into a claw. The candles are stumps now. The air tastes of hot wax and fear. Midday. The mob outside breaches the outer gate. You hear the crash distantly like thunder over water. The cardinals pale. Giovanni stands on the altar steps. "Brothers, the city burns. Choose or we all roast." Silence. Then Anastasius, voice steady. "I propose Brother John Anglicus, scholar, linguist, loyal to none but Holy Mother Church." 43 heads swivel toward you. Your stomach drops through the floor. You rise slowly, tablet clutched like a shield. "Reverend Fathers, I am unworthy." The correct answer. Giovanni's eyes narrow, calculation or admiration hard to tell. Another cardinal, old Deacon Peter with the trembling hands, pipes up. He writes like an angel and argues like a Greek. Let him finish the walls and talk to the Saracens. Laughter, nervous but real. The vote is called. Scrutiny. Your name on 43 scraps of parchment, folded, dropped into the silver chalice. The archdeacon counts aloud. 43. Unanimous. The chapel exhales. You feel the girl inside you scream silently, then fold herself small and quiet. Giovanni claps your shoulder too hard. "Habemus Papam," he says, and the word Papa lands on you like a millstone. The doors are flung open. White smoke billows from the chimney. Wet straw on the fire, the signal. The mob outside quiets, uncertain. You are led to the sacristy, robes already waiting, white linen, red silk, the heavy dalmatic that hides everything. Lucia is there, eyes wide, helping the tailors. She whispers, "Breathe, little monk," and you want to laugh or cry or both. The robes settle over your binding like a lie tailored to perfection. Coronation is tomorrow. Tonight you kneel in the Lark Chapel, alone with the parrot who has learned your new title and squawks it gleefully. You touch the fisherman's ring, still warm from the forge. The Tiber mutters beyond the walls, carrying the city's chaos downstream. You whisper to the smoke curling in the rafters, Pope Joan, 8th of that name, still breathing. The smoke doesn't answer, but it rises white and certain into the Roman night. The ring slides onto your finger like a cold promise. It is April 2, 847, and the Basilica of St. Peter's is a roar of human thunder, thousands of voices braided into one Latin Te Deum that rattles the mosaics. You stand on the porphyry wheel where emperors once knelt, now Pope John Roman VIII, and the fisherman's ring, gold, heavy, engraved with Peter casting his net, pinches the base of your finger as if to remind you that nets catch more than fish. Your other hand grips the pastoral staff so tightly the ivory warms. The triple tiara, 3 crowns for 3 worlds you must now rule, weighs on your brow like a storm cloud stitched in pearls. The incense is thick enough to chew. It curls around the columns and settles in the folds of your dalmatic. You breathe it in, tasting myrrh and fear. Below you, the cardinals kneel in scarlet waves. Giovanni's eyes gleam with something between triumph and warning. Anastasius bows lower than necessary, shoulders shaking laughter or prayer you cannot tell. Lucia, in the choir loft with the Schola Cantorum, sings the high line in Greek. Her voice slices through the Latin like a silver knife. You meet her gaze for one heartbeat. She smiles, small and fierce. You nod once. The congregation thinks it is blessing. Only she knows it is gratitude. Grounding fact, the papal coronation in the 9th century included the Lord's acclamations sung by the Schola and the bestowal of the ring, pallium, and keys. The tiara came later, but we'll let the legend keep its sparkle. Touch of the unusual, the fisherman's ring was traditionally smashed with a hammer upon a pope's death, so no one could forge documents. The hammer waited in a velvet pouch like a patient executioner. Hint of mystery. No one agrees whether the ring was worn on the right hand or left in 847. The chroniclers argue, and the finger bones are dust. You lift your hand. The crowd hushes. You speak the ancient formula, Pax Vobiscum, and your voice, trained in monastery choirs, tempered in lecture halls, carries to the rafters without strain. The response, "Et cum spiritu tuo," rolls back like surf. You feel the girl inside you shrink to a spark, then flare brighter. She is not gone. She is simply wearing a better mask. The procession forms. You ride a white mule, symbol of humility, though this one bites through the nave and out into the piazza. The city has turned out in its patchwork best, nobles in silk, beggars in rags, children on shoulders waving olive branches. Someone throws rose petals. They stick to the mule's mane like pink lice. You bless left and right, mechanically at first, then with a rhythm that feels almost natural. A woman near the fountain holds up a baby swaddled in blue. You trace the cross in the air. The child sneezes. The crowd laughs. You smile, your first genuine one of the day. Joke 1. The mule's name is Humilitas, but the grooms call it Mordax Biter. Humility apparently has teeth. Joke 2. The tiara is so tall you check for birds' nests every time you bow. Joke 3. The ring is sized for a man's hand. You've wrapped the inside with linen thread so it doesn't spin like a lazy halo. Back inside the Lateran Palace, the banquet awaits. Long tables grown under peacocks re-feathered in their own plumage, lampreys in almond sauce, and bread still hot from the ovens. You sit at the high table between Giovanni and the prefect of Rome, a man whose beard could hide a dagger. You eat sparingly, binding plus nerves equals no room, but you drink the spiced wine. It warms the hollow beneath your ribs. Speeches drone. You nod at the right moments. Lucia, serving as cubicularius for the evening, refills your cup with water tinted faint rose. You mouth thank you. She winks. Night falls violet over the city. You are led to the papal apartment's marble floors, frescoed ceilings, a bed wide enough for a small army. The chamberlain locks the door with a key the length of your forearm. You are alone. You unbind your chest for the first time in public memory, ribs expanding like bellows. The air tastes of cedar from the open window. The Tiber glitters below, carrying torchlight in broken coins. You remove the tiara, the ring, the dalmatic, until you stand in simple linen, hair cropped short, body aching but alive. You touch the ring, still warm, and whisper to the dark, Joan, daughter of the Rhine, now fatherly crowned. The dark does not correct you. You sleep eventually, dreamlessly, the fisherman's ring on the bedside table like a small sun. Dawn will bring audiences, bulls, the endless paperwork of salvation. But for now, the city is quiet, the mule is stabled, and the girl inside the Pope breathes free for one unguarded hour. The papal bed is wide enough for 3 popes and a small heresy, but you sleep alone, Brother John. No, Pope John Roman VIII, curled on the edge like a comma in a long Latin sentence. The year is 848, and the city outside your window is a restless animal. Dogs bark, a baby cries. The Tiber keeps its ancient gossip. Inside, the palace is never truly quiet. Footsteps echo in the corridor, soft, deliberate, the sound of men who have learned to walk on secrets. You rise, slip the fisherman's ring back onto your finger, it fits better now, the linen thread worn thin, and wrap yourself in a plain wool robe. The tiara stays on its velvet cushion. Crowns are for daylight. You pad barefoot to the Sala Concilii, the small council chamber where the real empire is run. Oil lamps burn low. The air smells of parchment, sealing wax, and the faint almond bitterness of the poison someone tested on a rat last week. Giovanni is already there, hood thrown back, scarlet robe unbuttoned at the throat. Anastasius sits opposite, ink on his fingers, eyes bright as a falcon's. Lucia stands by the door, tray of watered wine and bread. She does not bow tonight, she simply nods. You nod back. The 4 of you are the only ones awake in a palace of sleepers. Grounding fact, 9th century popes really did hold midnight councils. The Liber Diurnus records decisions stamped at 3 a.m. because daylight brought too many spies. Touch of the unusual, the council table was inlaid with a map of Rome carved in ivory. Moving a candle moved a legion. Hint of mystery, who carved the map, and why does one tiny street near the Tiber vanish from every later copy? Giovanni spreads a parchment. Saracens off Ostia again. They want tribute, or they burn the saltworks. His voice is calm, but his knuckles are white. Anastasius pushes forward a wax tablet. The Emperor Lothar offers ships, if we crown his son co-emperor. You trace the ivory map with one finger, feeling the grooves of walls you have yet to finish. Lucia pours wine. The cups are silver, dented, older than the empire. You drink. The wine is thin, honest. You speak first. Pay the Saracens in words. Send Anastasius. He speaks Arabic like a Bedouin and lies like a Greek. Anastasius grins. Giovanni snorts. And Larthar. You tap the map where the Lombard plain meets the Alps. Promise the boy a coronation. Next year. By then the walls will be higher, the treasury fuller, and the boy will be tired of waiting. Silence. Then Giovanni laughs, low and genuine. You play chess with kingdoms, Holy Father. You shrug. I learned on a monastery checkerboard. Joke 1. The rat that tasted the poison last week is now buried with full honors. Someone wrote a eulogy in hexameter. Joke 2. Giovanni's robe has a wine stain shaped exactly like Italy. He calls it prophetic. Joke 3. You've started measuring time by how many candles Lucia trims. One candle, one crisis. The council stretches. You dictate letters to the Doge of Venice. Subtle threat. To the Abbot of Farfa. Subtle bribe. To the Empress Theodora in Constantinople. Subtle flattery in Greek so fluent it could pass for native. Lucia transcribes in her neat secretary hand. You will sign at dawn when the wax is warm. Between sentences you eat bread and cheese, the crust cracking like old parchment. Your binding is loose tonight. You breathe deep and the room does not spin. At the third hour a knock, soft, coded. Lucia opens. A palace guard, face pale. Saracen scouts on the Vire appear. They left a horse's head at the gate. Giovanni swears. Anastasius is already rolling maps. You stand, robe falling straight. Wake the prefect. Garrison the bridges. No panic. Your voice is steady. Inside, the girl from Mainz Count's heartbeats. The guard salutes and vanishes. Lucia closes the door. Giovanni looks at you. You sleep now. You smile small. Popes don't sleep. We delegate. You return to your chamber as the sky pales to pearl. The tiara gleams on its cushion like a sleeping beast. You remove the ring, place it beside the crown, and lie down fully clothed. The bed is still too large. You dream of the Rhine, broad, brown, safe. In the dream, your mother waves from the bank, but when you reach for her, the water turns to ink and the tiara sinks like a stone. Dawn Mass. You sing the introit in Greek. The choir answers in Latin. The basilica is packed. Rumors of Saracens travel faster than horses. You preach on Peter's net. Cast it wide, brothers, and trust the catch. The congregation murmurs approval. Giovanni catches your eye from the front pew. He mouths, well played. Lucia, in the choir loft, hides a smile behind her psalter. The day is a blur of audiences. A Byzantine envoy with waxed mustaches. A Frankish count with a petition longer than his beard. A widow who brings you a jar of honey and a sob story. You grant, you deny, you defer. Your quill never stops. At noon, you sneak to the palace roof with Lucia. Rome spreads below like a crumpled map. Smoke rises from the saltworks. Saracen warning or accident, hard to tell. You eat bread and olives. She asks, how long can you keep this up? You answer, until the walls are finished or the secret finishes me. She nods, unsurprised. Night again. Another council. The Saracens have retreated for now. Lothar's envoy arrives with gifts, a sword, a reliquary, a boy of 12 with his father's scowl. You crown him co-emperor in a ceremony so rushed the tiara slips. The boy looks terrified. You whisper, courage, little emperor. The crown is heavier than it looks. He nods, eyes wide. You wonder if he will remember kindness or only fear. Midnight. You are alone in the sala. The ivory map glows under the lamp. You trace the missing street with one finger. Somewhere there is a house with a red door, a girl who once stole ink. You whisper to the empty room, Pope Joan, weaver of midnight, still breathing. The Tiber carries the words away, past the bridges, past the walls, into the sea. A fish swallows them. The council is adjourned. Spring arrives in Rome the way a thief arrives, quiet, fragrant, impossible to ignore. The year is 849, and the city exhales almond blossoms and the first warm breath of the Sirocco. You, Pope John Roman VIII, feel it in your bones, literally. The linen binding that has been your second skin for 35 years is suddenly a torment. The wool robes, the silk dalmatic, the heavy cope for feast days, they all cling, chafe, and whisper too tight. Your body, once narrow as a reed, has begun to soften in secret places. Breasts swell against the strips. Hips press outward. A private ache blooms low in your belly each dawn, as regular as the bells for prime. You tell no one. You tell the mirror nothing. You tell the fisherman's ring everything, because gold keeps secrets better than flesh. The palace tailors notice first. Old Master Gregorio, fingers gnarled as olive roots, measures you for Easter vestments and frowns. Your holiness has filled out. You cough, your old reliable friend, and blame the rich papal diet. He nods, but his eyes linger on the way the tape now cinches your waist. New robes are cut fuller, seams let out by a finger's breadth. You wear them like a confession. Lucia, promoted to cubicularius primus, oversees the fitting. She says nothing, but at night she leaves a small jar of almond oil on your bedside table. For the skin, she writes on a scrap. You rub it into the grooves the binding leaves, and the scent reminds you of the vineyard south of Rome where you once argued about Auger, until the stars came out. Grounding fact, 9th century popes process through Rome 44 times a year. The Lenten station churches alone required a wardrobe change every dawn. Touch of the unusual, the papal laundry used lye so fierce it could bleach sin. One load famously turned a purple cope snow white and started a theological crisis. Hint of mystery, palace inventories list linen strips, extra long under miscellaneous. No one can explain the quantity or the bloodstains. Your days are a liturgy of motion. Dawn, matins in the private chapel, voice still steady though your back aches from the cold marble. Morning, audiences in the aula, nobles, abbots, a Persian physician who smells of cloves and claims to cure melancholy with powdered emerald. Noon, dictation in the scriptorium, bulls against simony, letters to the emperor begging money for walls, a sharp note to the Duke of Sparlito reminding him that excommunication is forever. Afternoon, inspections, the leonine walls rise stone by stone. You climb the scaffolding in soft boots, heart hammering at the height and the secret hammering louder. Evening, vespers, then banquets where you push food around gold plates and sip watered wine to keep your head clear. The city watches. Servants trade glances when you pass. A kitchen boy swears he saw you retch behind the laurel hedge. Lucia silences him with a glare and a honey cake. Giovanni, now Camerlengo, corners you after chapter. You look unwell, Holy Father. His eyes are sharp as stilettos. You blame the Roman spring, Parlin, you say, though the almond trees have barely budded. He nods, but you catch him counting the days on his fingers later. Anastasius, busy negotiating with Saracen envoys, sends you a tonic of fennel and rue. You pour it into the Tiber when no one watches. The fish will have to cope. Joke 1. The laundry crisis of the purple cope is now blamed on a demon named Candida. The exorcist is still waiting for hazard pay. Joke 2. Gregorio has started measuring you in your sleep. You wake to find chalk marks on the sheets like a crime scene. Joke 3. The emerald powder turned a cardinal's urine green. He declared it a miracle and asked for a relic fee. Nights are the worst. You pace the papal apartments, moonlight striping the floor like prison bars. The binding must stay on, even in sleep, even alone, because the chamberlain enters at dawn with hot water and the day's robes. You practice breathing shallow, counting heartbeats the way you once counted psalm verses. The ache in your belly sharpens. You dream of Mainz, your mother's loom, the shuttle flying, but the thread is red and will not stop. You wake sweating, the fisherman's ring clenched in your fist hard enough to leave a mark. Holy Week arrives in a blaze of palm and incense. You ride the white mule Mordax has been retired. The new one is named Pax, though it kicks through streets strewn with laurel. The crowd roars, Ions. Ions. Children dart under the guard's legs to touch your robe. A girl no older than you were when you left Mainz holds up a posy of violets. You take it, tuck it into your sleeve. The scent follows you all day. During the Good Friday procession, you carry the relic of the true cross. The wood is warm from 1,000 hands. Your own hands tremble. Lucia walks behind you in the scola, singing the Crux Fidelis. Her voice cracks on the high note. You pretend not to notice. Easter Vigil. The basilica is a cave of candles. You baptize catechumens in the porphyry font, water sluicing over their bowed heads. One is a Saracen convert named Yusuf. His Latin is clumsy, his joy clumsy and bright. You lay hands on his wet hair and feel the child inside you kick, hard, insistent. You stagger. Giovanni steadies you. The vigil is long, Holy Father. You nod, smile fixed. The kick comes again. You understand, with the clarity of a bell struck at midnight, that time is a river and you are running out of banks. Back in your chamber, you lock the door, lean against it, and slide to the floor. The violets have wilted in your sleeve. You press them between pages of your private psalter. Lucia knocks once code. You let her in. She sees your face and closes the door soft as a secret. How long? She asks. You laugh, a sound like breaking glass. Since the almond blossoms. She does not ask whose. She simply kneels, unlaces your sandals, and begins to knead the arches of your feet with the same hands that once copied Aristotle. You weep without sound. She hums a lullaby from your Mainz childhood, the one about the swan on the Rhine. The child kicks again, as if in rhythm. You whisper to the dark, to Lucia, to the violets, Pope Joan, vessel of incense and impossibility, still breathing. The Tiber carries the words away, past the bridges, past the walls, into the sea. A fish swallows them. The river keeps its counsel. The 1st of May, 850. Rome has dressed itself in every shade of green and gold, as if the city itself is trying to outshine the sun. You ride Pax, the mule who still dreams of kicking along the Via Sacra toward the Colosseum, where the litany of the saints will wind through the arches like incense made visible. The crowd is a living tapestry, silk banners, bare feet, children on shoulders, dogs underfoot. They chant Ions, Ions. In a rhythm that matches the bells of 100 churches, you lift your hand in blessing, the fisherman's ring catching the light like a small, dangerous star. Beneath the cope, your belly, now impossible to bind flat, is cushioned by layers of silk and a secret pillow of folded linen. Lucia tailored it herself, stitching tiny violets into the hem for luck. You feel the child shift, a private drumbeat against the public roar. The air is thick with lilac, sweat, and the sharp tang of crushed herbs underfoot. Rose petals rain from balconies. One sticks to your cheek like a kiss you never asked for. You smile practiced, serene, while your lower back screams and your bladder plots rebellion. Giovanni rides to your left, scarlet as a wound. Anastasius to your right, eyes scanning the crowd for daggers. Lucia walks with the Schola Cantorum just behind, her voice threading the litania high and clear. You catch her glance. She mouths breathe. You try. The binding allows only sips of air, like a miser doling out coins. Grounding fact: the Greater Litanies on April 25, and their echo on May 1, were ancient Roman processions repurposed by the Church. The route from St. Peter's to the Colosseum was fixed by the 8th century. Touch of the unusual. The crowd threw beans as well as petals, beans for the dead, petals for the living. Someone always mixed them up. Hint of mystery. Chroniclers record a sudden storm on May 1, 850, but cannot agree whether it began before or after the papal mule bolted. Halfway down the via, the first pane strikes low, rolling like a wave dragging pebbles across your spine. You grip the saddle's pommel, knuckles white beneath the glove. The crowd sees only the Pope steadying himself against the press of bodies. Giovanni leans close. Are you ill? You shake your head, force the smile wider. The sun, you lie. The sun is warm, not cruel. The lie tastes of iron. Another pain sharper. You feel a warm trickle between your thighs, water, blood, you cannot tell. The mule senses your tension and sidesteps, ears flat. A child darts under its nose, the beast shies. You sway. Anastasius grabs the bridle. Steady, Pax, he murmurs, then to you, softer, hold on. You nod, but the world tilts. The Colosseum looms ahead, arches like broken teeth. You must reach the station church inside. You must. The litany continues, Sancta Maria, ora pro nobis. Your lips move, but no sound emerges. The pain crests again, a vise around your middle. You taste bile. Lucia's voice rises alone on the Agnus Dei, pure and piercing. You lock eyes with her over the sea of heads. She sees. She knows. Her face goes white as the linen under your cope. Then the sky cracks. Not metaphor, literal thunder, though the morning was cloudless. A wind whips up from the Tiber, scattering petals and beans like confetti at a funeral. The crowd gasps. The mule bolts. You cling to the pommel as Pax plunges through the press, hooves striking sparks on the stones. Giovanni shouts. Guards run. You feel the child drop lower, a stone sinking in a well. Another pain blinding. You double over the mule's neck, cope tangling your arms. The world narrows to the animal's sweat, the saddle's creak, the wet warmth spreading beneath you. The Colosseum's shadow swallows you. The procession jams in the narrow street beside it, too many bodies, too little space. Pax rears. You slide sideways, one foot caught in the stirrup. Hands reach pilgrims' guards, a priest with a face like dough. Someone screams, Il Papa. You hit the ground hard, shoulder first, then hip. The impact jars the child loose. Another contraction, immediate, savage. You curl around the pain, knees to chest, the cope a scarlet tent over you both. Lucia is there, pushing through, voice cutting like a blade. Back, give him air. She kneels, shields you with her body. Giovanni arrives, face grim. Get the litter, he barks. Anastasius is already shouting for the palace physician. You grasp Lucia's wrist. No litter, you gasp. Alley, now. She understands. With Giovanni's help, he does not ask why. She hauls you upright, arm around your waist. The crowd parts, murmuring. You stumble into a side street between the Colosseum and a tavern, the smell of wine and horse dung thick as the pain. Behind a stack of wine barrels, you collapse to your knees. Lucia hikes your robes. The linen pillow is soaked crimson. It's time, she says, calm as if announcing vespers. You nod, tears mixing with sweat. Giovanni stands guard, back turned, sword drawn. The city's roar fades to a dull surf. You bear down. The child comes fast, too fast, crowned in dark hair, slippery as a fish. Lucia catches him, wraps him in her own cloak. A boy, he wails, thin and fierce. You laugh or sob, the sound is the same. Then the second wave afterbirth, blood, the world tilting. Lucia presses the child to your chest. His warmth is the only real thing left. You look up. Giovanni has turned, his eyes are wide, mouth open. The sword lowers. Madre di Dio, he whispers. The secret is out, spilled like wine on sacred marble. You whisper to the child, to Lucia, to the stones, Pope Joan, mother of miracles, still breathing. The Tiber, somewhere beyond the alley, carries the words away. A fish swallows them. The litany continues without you. The alley behind the Colosseum is suddenly too small for the truth. The child's cry, sharp, undeniable, ricochets off the stone walls like a trumpet blast in a crypt. You kneel in a puddle of your own blood and birthing fluid, the papal cope bunched around your waist like a discarded banner. Lucia cradles the infant against her breast, her face a mask of fierce calm. Giovanni stands frozen, sword half raised, the scarlet of his robe draining to ash in the noon light. Beyond the barrels, the procession has stalled, the litany falters into confused murmurs. Someone shouts, "The Pope has fallen." Another voice, closer, shrieks, a child from the Pope." The words spread faster than the petals ever did. You reach for the baby. Lucia hesitates, only a heartbeat, then places him in your arms. He is warm, slippery, impossibly small. His fists flail, seeking. You press him to the hollow beneath your collarbone where the binding once pressed. The fisherman's ring glints against his dark hair. You whisper his name, Peter, because every pope needs a Peter, though no one will ever record it. His cry softens to a hiccup. You feel the last of your strength leak out with the blood between your thighs. Grounding fact, medieval crowds could turn from adoration to violence in the space of a single rumor. The 9th century Roman plebs were famous for stoning unpopular magistrates. Touch of the unusual, the Colosseum's substructures still held wild beasts for occasional spectacles. One chronicler swears a lion roared at the exact moment of the revelation. Hint of mystery. No official record of the procession's route that day survives. The Liber Pontificalis jumps from Easter to June, as if may never happened. Giovanni recovers first. He sheathes his sword, steps between you and the alley mouth. "Back!" he roars, voice cracking like a whip. The crowd recoils. Anastasius pushes through, face white as the linen now soaked crimson at your knees. He sees the child, sees you robe-hiked, legs bare, hair plastered with sweat, and for a moment his scholar's mask slips. "Mater," he breathes, the Latin word for mother slipping out before he can stop it. Lucia hisses, "Not here." She rips the violet-stitched pillow from beneath your cope, stuffs it into a wine barrel. Evidence. The crowd presses closer. A woman near the front crosses herself frantically. A man drunk on procession wine laughs, points. "The Pope is a woman." The laughter spreads, nervous, then angry. A stone arcs overhead, clatters against the wall. Another follows, grazing Giovanni's shoulder. He swears, draws his sword again. "To the palace," he orders. "Now," Lucia hauls you up. Your legs buckle, the world tilts. Anastasius supports your other side. The child is a warm weight against your chest, his breath a tiny bellows. You stumble between them, cope trailing like a battle standard. The alley is a gauntlet, faces twisted in shock, horror, delight. Someone spits. Someone kneels. A priest, young, terrified, begins the confiter aloud, as if confession can undo biology. You pass a fishmonger who crosses himself with a mackerel. The absurdity almost makes you laugh. Blood loss makes you dizzy. Joke 1. The mackerel is now a relic. Someone will sell it as the fish of the female pope by sunset. Joke 2. Giovanni's sword is trembling, but whether from rage or revelation, only the blade knows. Joke 3. The child has already inherited your talent for timing. He chooses this moment to fill his lungs and wail like a cathedral bell. The guards form a wedge, pushing back the mob. You reach the wider street. The white mule Pax is gone, bolted or stolen, impossible to tell. A litter waits, curtains drawn. Lucia shoves you inside, climbs after with the child. Giovanni and Anastasius mount the steps behind, swords drawn. The litter lurches forward, bearers running. The crowd surges, but the guards hold. Stones clatter against the wood. One shatters the lattice window, shards rain like ice. You shield the baby with your body. Lucia curses in 3 languages. Inside the litter, the world narrows to the child's heartbeat against yours. You are bleeding heavily now. The cushions soak it up like a sponge. Lucia tears strips from her own tunic, presses them between your legs. "Stay with me," she commands. You nod, but your vision tunnels. The fisherman's ring slips from your finger, clinks to the floor. Lucia picks it up, slides it onto your thumb instead. "For Peter," she says. You smile or try to. The palace gates slam shut behind you. The litter stops in the courtyard. Servants swarm, then freeze at the sight. The Pope half naked, bloody, a newborn in her arms. Lucia barks orders, hot water, linen, the physician. You are carried to the papal bed, the one wide enough for 3 popes and a heresy. The child is taken gently by a wide-eyed nurse. You reach for him, but your arms are lead. Lucia stays, holding your hand. Giovanni and Anastasia stand guard at the door, faces grim. The physician arrives, old Master Gregorio in a different role. He examines, pales, crosses himself. "The womb is torn," he mutters. "And the secret," he trails off. Lucia glares. "Save the mother first, secrets later." You drift. The pain is distant now, a tide pulling you out. You hear the child cry somewhere beyond the curtains. You whisper to the canopy, to Lucia, to the ring on your thumb, Joan, mother of Peter, still breathing. The Tiber, beyond the walls, carries the words away. A fish swallows them. The city howls. The palace doors burst open like a wound. You are on your feet, bare, bleeding, half carried by Lucia and Anastasius, while the child's cry fades behind a screen of guards. The fisherman's ring is gone, snatched by Giovanni as evidence, or perhaps mercy. Your cope is a scarlet rag. Your hair, grown long in secret, streams down your back like a black banner of defeat. The year is still 850, the hour past none, and Rome has become a single roaring mouth. Torches bloom in the courtyard. Steel glints. Giovanni's voice cuts through the chaos. "To the Tiber gate. Now." He shoves a cloak over your shoulders, plain brown wool, smelling of horse, and half drags you down a servant's stair you never knew existed. The palace is a hive overturned. Footsteps thunder overhead. A woman screams. Somewhere a bell clangs the alarm. Lucia keeps one arm around your waist, the other clutching a satchel bread. A knife, the psalter with the wilted violets pressed inside. Anastasius runs ahead, sword drawn, face carved from the same stone as the walls you built. You stumble on the slick steps, blood still seeping, legs trembling like a newborn foal's. The child, your Peter, is safe, they swear, hidden with the nurse in the crypt beneath the chapel. You cling to that promise the way a drowning man clings to driftwood. Grounding fact, medieval Rome's warren of alleys. The Vicali could swallow an army or hide a saint. The Subura district alone had over 60 unnamed lanes. Touch of the unusual, the city's night soil men used coded whistles to avoid the watch. One such whistle now guides your flight. Hint of mystery. No chronicle records the exact path of the Pope's escape. The maps simply stop at the river. You burst into a kitchen courtyard, smoke, steam, the stink of boiling tripe. A scullion drops a pot, broth splashes your ankles like hot rain. Lucia snarls. Out of the way! The boy flees. Giovanni kicks open a side gate into an alley so narrow your shoulders brush both walls. The city swallows you again. Behind, the palace bells toll furiously, not the measured rhythm of prayer, but the frantic clang of hunt. Torchlight flickers at the alley's mouth. Voices shout your name, no longer Holy Father, but Strega, Meretrix, Antipapa. Stones clatter behind you. One strikes the wall inches from your head, showering you with grit. You run. The alley twists like a gut. Laundry lines overhead drip on your face, someone's Monday wash, now your baptism. Your lungs burn, the binding, loosened in the birthing, flaps like a broken wing. Lucia steadies you when you stagger. Left here, Anastasius hisses. You duck under an arch into a lane paved with broken potsherds that cut your soles. Blood leaves a dark trail, but the rain, sudden, violent, straight from the earlier thunder, begins to fall, washing the stones clean. The guards or guard have a sense of timing. Joke 1. The laundry overhead includes a cardinal's drawers. Someone will blame the storm, not the escape. Joke 2. Your bare feet are now officially pilgrim relics. Collect the set with the mackerel. Joke 3. Giovanni's sword is more decoration than weapon tonight. He keeps checking it's still there, like a child with a favorite toy. The rain turns the alleys to rivers. You splash through ankle-deep muck, past shuttered windows where faces peer, then vanish. A dog lunges, teeth snapping. Anastasius kicks it aside. You reach the Subura, the old plebeian quarter, now a maze of taverns and brothels. Lucia whistles 3 short, 1 long. A door creaks open. A night soil man, face wrapped in a scarf, beckons. You tumble inside a storeroom stinking of lie and despair. The door slams. Bolts slide. Silence, broken only by your ragged breathing and the rain on the roof. The man, Titus, he mutters, lights a single candle. His eyes flick over your blood-streaked legs, the torn cope, Lucia's knife. He crosses himself but does not kneel. Tiber's this way, he says. Boat's waiting. After that, your guard's problem. Giovanni presses a gold solidus into his palm, papal treasury, now fugitive currency. Titus bites the coin, nods, leads you through a tunnel that smells of centuries of waste. You gag, but keep moving. The child's face, red, squashed, perfect, floats in your vision like a candle in fog. The tunnel ends at a grate. Titus pries it open. The Tiber rushes below, black and swollen with rain. A small skiff bobs against the pilings, rowed by a boy no older than 12. You climb down a slime-slick ladder, legs shaking. Lucia follows, then Anastasius. Giovanni hesitates, duty, fear, calculation, then jumps. The boy casts off. The current seizes the boat, spins it downstream. Rome's torches recede like dying stars. You collapse against the gunwale, cloak soaked, hair plastered to your skull. Blood still seeps, slower now. Lucia tears another strip from her tunic, binds your thighs tight. Anastasius rows with steady strokes, face grim. Giovanni sits opposite, sword across his knees, staring at you as if seeing a ghost. The rain eases to a drizzle. The city's bells fade behind the rush of water. You whisper to the dark river, to the child you left, to the ring you lost, Joan, fugitive of alleys, still breathing. The Tiber carries the words away, past the bridges, past the walls, into the sea. A fish swallows them. The boat glides on. The skiff slips beneath the Pont Sant'Angelo like a secret whispered under a bridge. The rain has softened to a mist that beads on your eyelashes and tastes of iron and river mud. You lie in the bottom of the boat, cheek against a coil of rope that smells of tar and old fish. The child is gone, left behind in the palace crypt with the nurse, and a promise you may never keep. The fisherman's ring is gone. The tiara is gone. All that remains is the sodden brown cloak, Lucia's hand on your brow, and the slow, steady pulse of the Tiber carrying you south. The year is still 850. The hour is lost somewhere between Vespers and the end of the world. Lucia's voice is a thread in the dark. Stay awake, Joan. She has not used your true name since Mainz. Hearing it now is both knife and balm. You try to answer, but your tongue is thick with blood and exhaustion. Anastasius rose with the patience of a monk copying psalms. Stroke, breathe, stroke. Giovanni sits at the stern, sword across his knees, staring back at the city as if expecting it to rise and pursue. Rome's torches are pinpricks now, swallowed by mist. The bells have stopped. Either the hunt has turned inward, or the rain has drowned them. Grounding fact, the Tiber at Rome was swift, shallow in summer, treacherous in flood. Small boats could navigate the city's underbelly unseen if the oarsmen knew the eddies. Touch of the unusual, fishermen strung nets between the bridge pilings to catch not fish, but corpses. The river was Rome's undertaker. Hint of mystery. No body of a female pope was ever found. The river keeps its dead as tightly as its secrets. The current quickens. The boy at the bow, Titus's grandson, silent as a shadow, steers with a broken oar. You pass beneath another bridge, Pont Fabricio, older than Christ. Its arches drip like a weeping saint. The mist thickens. The city's stench fades to the clean rot of reeds and water. Your bleeding has slowed to a seep. Lucia's makeshift bandages hold. She hums the lullaby from your childhood, the one about the swan on the Rhine. You drift, half dreaming of Mainz, of ink and moonlight, of a girl who thought words could carry her anywhere. A sudden jolt. The skiff scrapes bottom. Anastasius swears softly. Sandbar, the boy mutters. Giovanni stands, sword ready, but there is only darkness and the soft hush of water on reeds. You are miles downstream now, past the city walls, past the last torch. The boy poles the boat into a side channel where willows lean like mourners. The air smells of mud and wild mint. Lucia helps you sit. Your legs are numb, but the pain has dulled to a distant ache. You look up. The mist parts, stars prick through like pinpricks in black velvet. You have not seen so many stars since the vineyard south of Rome. Giovanni speaks for the first time since the palace. We cannot go back. His voice is flat, final. Lucia nods. Nor forward as we are. She looks at you. Joan, the child. You cut her off with a shake of the head. The name Peter is a stone in your throat. Anastasius rests the oar. There is a monastery at the river bend. Benedictines, they owe me a favor. He does not say what favor. You do not ask. The boy ties the skiff to a willow root. You climb out, legs trembling but holding. The ground is soft, sucking at your bare feet. Lucia supports you. Giovanni scouts ahead, sword low. The monastery is a dark hulk against the stars, no lights, no bells. Anastasius knocks in a rhythm, 3, pause, 2. A shutter creaks. A monk's face appears, hooded, eyes wide. Words are exchanged in whispers. The gate opens just enough. You are pulled inside. The cloister is cold stone and the smell of damp wool. The abbot, old, bent, kind, does not ask questions. He leads you to the infirmary, a low room with a straw pallet and a crucifix that leans like a drunk. Lucia lays you down. The monk brings hot water, clean linen, a tincture of poppy. You drink. The pain recedes to a tide pool. Giovanni and Anastasia stand guard outside the door. Lucia sits beside you, holding your hand. The abbot lights a single candle. Its flame trembles like a heartbeat. You sleep. You dream of the Tiber, broad, brown, merciful. In the dream, you are a girl again, standing on the bank at Mainz, watching your name float downstream on a leaf. The leaf becomes a boat. The boat becomes a child. The child becomes a fish. You wake to the sound of bells, distant, gentle, the monastery's matins. Lucia is asleep in the chair, head on her arms. The candle has burned low. Your body is a map of bruises and stitches, but the bleeding has stopped. You are alive. Dawn creeps through the slit window, grey and soft. The abbot brings broth, barley, herbs, a whisper of wine. You sip. Strength returns in small, stubborn sips. Lucia wakes, stretches, smiles, small, fierce. We leave at dusk, she says. North. The Alps, beyond the Emperor's reach. You nod. The child is a ghost in your arms, but the ghost is warm. You will carry him always. You whisper to the candle, to Lucia, to the crucifix, Joan, exile of the Tiber, still breathing. The river, miles away, carries the words south to the sea. A fish swallows them. The monastery bells ring, lords. The day begins. The candle in the monastery infirmary gutters, but the story does not end. It simply changes hands. You lie on the straw pallet, Joan no longer pope, no longer mother in the eyes of the world, while outside the cloister walls the year 850 folds itself into legend and lies. The abbot has given you a coarse wool habit, a tanja freshly shaved by Lucia's steady knife, and a new name, Brother Jonas, a wandering Greek scholar seeking penance. The child, your Peter, is already en route to a convent in the Sabine Hills, carried by the nurse and a vow of silence sealed with papal gold. You kiss the empty air where his warmth should be and let the monks close the gate behind them. The bells ring tierce. The sound is a door slamming on your old life. By nightfall you are gone, north, over the Apennines, a mule named Asina that truly lives up to its name. Lucia rides behind you, arms around your waist to keep you upright. Anastasius has stayed behind to seed the records with confusion, forged letters, contradictory dates, a convenient fire in the Lateran archive. Giovanni has vanished into the Roman mob, some say to rally loyalists, some say to save his skin. The four of you are now a rumor with hooves. Grounding fact, medieval Scriptoria routinely altered papal lists. The Liber Pontificalis has gaps where popes were unmade by politics or plague. Touch of the unusual, scribes used lemon juice as invisible ink for marginal notes. Heat revealed the truth centuries later. Hint of mystery, the name Johannes Roman 8 appears twice in the official list, once as a 2-year reign, once as a single line crossed out. No one agrees which is the woman. Weeks blur into mountain passes and charcoal burner huts. You travel as pilgrims, begging bread and silence. Your body heals slowly, stitches itch, milk leaks into the binding you still wear out of habit. Lucia brews fennel tea to dry the flow. At night you copy psalms by firelight, the quill trembling less each day. You begin a secret chronicle on scraps of vellum, the true acts of Pope Joan. You write in Greek, in code, in margins no one will read for 1,000 years. The first line, I was never erased, I walked away. Rumors reach you in fragments. In Rome, the cardinals have elected a grizzled deacon named Leo Roman 4 again, to erase the stain. The litany procession is banned until further notice. Your name is scraped from the necrology with pumice and vinegar. Someone nails a placard to the doors of St. Peter's, Mulia non est Papa. The mob cheers. A tavern near the Colosseum sells Pope Joan's milk, goat, mostly. A puppet play tours the suburbs. The she-pope gives birth to a fish. You laugh until you cry, then copy the joke into your chronicle. Joke 1, the puppet fish is stuffed with sawdust and heresy. It squeaks when squeezed. Joke 2, the cardinals now measure papal robes with a stick labeled man-sized only. Joke 3, your erased name has become a swear word. Roman children stub a toe and yell by Joan's beard. Years pass like pages turned by wind. You settle in a Greek monastery near Fulda, full circle, almost. The abbot here is Siegfried's cousin. He asks no questions. You teach logic, illuminate manuscripts, grow thin and quiet. Lucia becomes the infirmarian, her hands still steady with almond oil. Anastasius visits once, disguised as a wine merchant. He brings news. The child thrives, red-haired, already reading Latin. He leaves a lock of hair tied with violet thread. You press it between the pages of your chronicle. The erasures continue. Scribes in Rome insert a fictitious Pope Victor between Leo Roman III and Leo Roman IV. Your 2-year reign shrinks to a footnote, then vanishes. A chronicler named Martinus Paulonus, writing in far-off Poland, hears the tavern tale and scribbles it down. A woman named Joan reigned 2 years. His manuscript is copied, altered, condemned, copied again. The story refuses to die. In a Paris workshop, a deck of playing cards is printed. The Queen of Spades is a pope with a baby under her cope. In a German village, a baker shapes bread into a woman wearing a tiara. The Vatican issues a bull. Such fables are the work of drunkards. The bull is ignored. You grow old. The quill steadies again. You finish the chronicle on your deathbed. 855 or 856, dates are slippery now. The last line, tell them I was real. Tell them the river remembers. Lucia seals the pages into a lead casket, buries it beneath the monastery herb garden. She carves no marker. The violets grow thick there anyway. Centuries later, archaeologists will dig and find only roots. Chroniclers will argue. Children will play Pope Joan with a pack of cards. The Tiber will keep rolling, brown and silent, carrying every secret to the sea. And somewhere, a fish or 1,000 fish will swallow the words you whispered on a raining night. Joan, erased but not forgotten, still breathing in the margins. The year is 2025, and the Basilica of St. Peter's is a cathedral of light and shadow. Tourists stream beneath Michelangelo's dome, phones raised like tiny altars. You drift among them, no longer Joan, no longer Pope, simply a quiet presence in comfortable shoes and a soft sweater. The air smells of candle wax, espresso, and the faint metallic tang of centuries. Your guidebook is open to the papal necrology carved in marble along the nave, a long parade of names, dates, and reigns. You trace the list with one finger, pausing at the year 850. There, between Leo Roman IV and Benedict Roman III, is a blank space no wider than a heartbeat. A gap, a silence. You smile, small and private. The tourists chatter in a dozen languages. A child tugs his mother's sleeve. Why is there a hole in the list, Mama? She shrugs, distracted by gelato. You know the hole better than anyone. It is where your name should be 2 years, 5 months, 11 days, give or take a riot. The marble is smooth, polished by 1,000 curious fingers. You rest your palm against it. The stone is cool, unyielding, but it remembers. Grounding fact, the official Annuario Pontificio still lists the popes without interruption from 847 to 855, but the physical necrology in St. Peter's has a visible lacuna. Restorers in 1601 simply skipped the line. Touch of the unusual, the Sedia Stercoraria. The pierced chair used to verify papal masculinity really existed in the Vatican collection until 1666, when it vanished during renovations. Hint of mystery, carbon dating of the chair's wood places it firmly in the 9th century. No one can explain the hole or the bloodstains. You wander to the grottos beneath the basilica, where the bones of popes sleep in niches. The air is cooler here, damp with the breath of the dead. A tour guide, Ernest, Young, explains the pierced chair to a cluster of Americans. Legend says it was used after Pope Joan to prevent another scandal. The group laughs nervously. You linger at the back, hood of your sweater up. The guide does not see the faint smile on your lips. In the Vatican's secret archives, now less secret, open to scholars by appointment, you have spent weeks in a carrel the size of a confessional. The documents are a labyrinth, a bull from 1276 condemning the Fable of Johanna Papissa, a 15th century marginal note in a monk's hand. I saw the chair. It had a hole like a donut. A 19th century inventory listing one wooden seat, pierced, provenance unknown. You photograph nothing. You simply read, breathe, remember. The archivist, a kind Jesuit with wire-rimmed glasses, brings you coffee and asks if you are writing a novel. You say yes. It is easier than the truth. Joke 1. The pierced chair is now rumored to be in a Vatican basement labeled furniture. Do not sit. Joke 2. The 1601 restorers filled the necrology gap with extra grout and a prayer. The prayer worked better. Joke 3. The child upstairs will grow up to design a font called Papal Gap, perfect for resumes with mysterious 2-year holes. Evening. You climb the dome at sunset, 498 steps, lungs protesting, but the view is worth it. Rome spreads below like a crumpled parchment, the Tiber a silver thread. You lean on the railing, wind tugging your hair, grey now, but still thick. Somewhere beneath your feet in the necrology, the gap waits. Somewhere in the archives, the chair waits. Somewhere in the city, a street artist has stenciled a woman in a tiara holding a baby on a wall near the Colosseum. The paint is fresh, the baby's eyes huge. You saw it this morning. You left a violet on the windowsill beneath it. You whisper to the city, to the dome, to the wind, Joan, echo in stone, still breathing. The Tiber carries the words away, past the bridges, past the walls, into the sea. A fish swallows them. The bells ring the Angelus. The tourists go home. The basilica lights dim to a honeyed glow, and the last tourist's footsteps fade into the Roman night. You stand alone before the high altar, sweater soft against your arms, the marble floor cool beneath your shoes. The year is still 2025, but time feels optional here, like a river that has learned to flow backward just to see what it missed. Above you, the dove of the Holy Spirit glimmers in mosaic, wings spread wide enough to shelter every secret ever whispered in this place. You breathe in the lingering incense, the faint espresso from the sacristy, the dust of 2 millennia. Your hand rests on the blank space in the necrology one final time. The stone is warm now, as if it has been waiting for your palm. Somewhere in the city, a busker plays a lute. Yes, a lute outside a gelateria. The notes drift up the steps of St. Peter's, mingle with the distant hum of traffic, and settle like snow. You smile. Rome has always preferred its history with a soundtrack. Grounding fact, the basilica's bronze doors still bear the dents of barbarian axes from 846. Restorers left them as character. Touch of the unusual every Christmas Eve. The canons discover a single violet on the altar of the crypt. No card, no footprints, just the flower. Hint of mystery. The Vatican's seismic sensors register a faint tremor beneath the high altar every May 1 at 3:17 p.m. The exact minute chroniclers say the procession stopped. Engineers blame settling. The canons light an extra candle. You walk the transept slowly, letting the echoes catch up. Your shoes make no sound. The marble has decided to be kind tonight. In the chapel of the Pieta, Michelangelo's Mary cradles her broken son. You pause. The sorrow in her stone eyes is older than the scandal, older than the gap. You touch the glass barrier gently, as if it were the cheek of a child. Somewhere behind you a candle sputters. You turn. The vigil lamp before the sacrament has flared, then settled into a steady flame. You nod. Acknowledgement, apology, benediction. Joke 1. The vigil lamp runs on olive oil and stubborn hope. It has outlasted 3 popes and a plumbing crisis. Joke 2. Michelangelo's Mary looks like she's thinking, I told him to wear the binding tighter. Joke 3. The violet on the crypt altar is now officially anonymous donor. The canons have stopped asking questions and started leaving a saucer of milk. Outside, the piazza is empty save for a stray cat washing its face beneath Bernini's colonnade. The fountains whisper. You descend the steps, the cat falling in beside you like an honor guard. At the obelisk you stop. The stone is still warm from the day's sun. You press your forehead to it the way you once pressed it to the shutters in Mainz. The cat twines around your ankles, purring. You scratch its ears. It is black and white, one ear torn familiar somehow. You walk on past the Tiber, now a ribbon of city lights. The bridges are quiet. You lean on the parapet of Pont Sant'Angelo. The river slides beneath, dark and patient. You pull the violet from your pocket, the one you left for the street artist, replaced by another anonymous hand. You let it fall. It spins once, twice, lands on the water and is gone. The current carries it south, past the bridges, past the walls, into the sea. A fish will swallow it, or it will wash up on some distant shore where a child will find it and wonder at the color. You turn back toward the old city. The lute has stopped. A radio plays soft jazz from a cafe still open for night owls. You buy a small espresso, no sugar. The barista hums along with the radio. You leave a coin and the faintest smile. The street's narrow climb, open into a piazza you recognize from no map. A fountain splashes. You sit on the rim, dip your fingers. The water is cold, clean. You wash the dust of the basilica from your hands, the ache of centuries from your heart. The cat finds you again, curls in your lap. You stroke its back and speak aloud, voice soft as the fountain. Hey, little one, you lasted longer than the tiara. The cat purrs agreement. You lean back, look up. The sky is a deep indigo bowl, stars scattered like salt. Somewhere up there, the moon is a clipped silver coin, same as it was in Mainz all those nights ago. You close your eyes. The city hums around you. Scooters, laughter, a baby's cry from an open window. All of it ordinary, all of it miraculous. You whisper to the fountain, to the cat, to the night, Joan, candlewick ember, still breathing. The Tiber carries the words away one last time. A fish swallows them. The fountain keeps splashing. The cat sleeps. The stars gather overhead, gentle and vast. Let your shoulders drop, traveler. The fountain's murmur is your heartbeat now, slow, steady, unhurried. Each exhale is a century folding itself away. The cat's warmth in your lap is the child you carried, the ring you wore, the quill you loved. All of it safe, all of it quiet. Breathe in the cool night air. Jasmine from a hidden balcony, river mist, the faint sweetness of gelato long eaten. Breathe out the weight of marble, the clamor of crowds, the echo of bells. Nothing is required of you now. No secret to keep, no road to walk, no name to defend. The stars lean closer, soft as candlelight on parchment. The city cradles you the way the Rhine once cradled a girl at a window. Let the fountain's song carry you downstream, past bridges of memory, past walls of stone, into a sea that needs no tiara. Your eyelids are heavy, and that is perfect. The cat's purr is a lullaby older than Latin. The violet is gone, but its color lingers behind your eyes, soft purple, gentle as dusk. You are safe. There is nothing left to do tonight except drift. The candlewick ember glows once more, then settles into darkness. Sweet dreams.